How's it going, boys?
Hey, bud.
We're back. Don't worry. Techno King Daddy's here. Everything's going to be all right. Oh.
Thank God. This is a pretty chaotic episode.
I saw the stress in the whites of Eric's
see
eyes.
my intro?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Feel the pain, the interruption in the intro.
How many interruptions did you count from
11.
Steven? Yeah.
Steven's walking all around the studio behind us.
Would not let me get through the ad read.
They were very important interruptions.
Oh, my God. Guys! Oh, it was great.
It was a good time.
It was great. It's Tunsky's top 10 episode.
I guess so.
I appreciate that,
I don't think
Tunsky.
I poured any alcohol in this. Tastes a little light.
Oh, you're going to need some elk.
Yeah, I'll do that in a second.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Alfalfa podcast. We are live on YouTube, as always, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. PST. Today we got Eric, Armand. I'm Nick. Steven's out. He's in Bordeaux, France.
Enjoy it, buddy.
Yeah, he's on his summer tour of Europe.
Enjoying the grape juice of Burgundy.
A little bougie to say
Good on you.
Bordeaux
Is
instead
it?
of saying I'm in France.
Yeah.
A little bougie.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
That's a good life.
Yeah, I'm glad he's on vacation.
I think this
And-
is becoming like a tradition of his. He's already done this once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Little wine
something
tasting.
Like that. Yeah.
little kind of like there's a project manager involved that like, guides you.
It's a
through your
great,
traipsing of the Bordeaux
great
wineries.
summer tradition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's up to everyone in the chat? I see Matt, Tyler, Dan, Tom Nom Nom, Hookem, Adam. What up? Oh, Adam, hell of a Formula One race. What a wholesome victory by Lando Norris, sir. I'm just sorry.
You guys want to start a new podcast?
I might. No one will talk to me about it. I have no one to talk to. Yeah, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. All the links are at alfalfapod.com. If you want to support the pod, there's a few different ways. We got the super chat during the live stream. You can get your comment up on the screen there. You can tweet the episode or share it with a friend. We had a lot of people share the episode and tweet the episode last week. So salute, gentleman's handshake, strength and honor to all of you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. And then you can collect our on-chain podcast collectibles, pods.media/alfalfa.
We moved to base.
We moved to base.
Yes. Lucas
day.
moved us to base.
Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Let's see. We got a little tight leaderboard. So we got Dan Simmons, simmonsd.eth, number one spot. Zimvi.eth, one
Dan's
behind.
the number one spot now?
Yeah. Zimvi.eth,
I knew Dan
one
was a
behind,
legend.
and Jen Sinius with 32, 4 behind, and in third spot. Lemon Cake and 0x Lucas. Tunsky in the 6th spot. Adam Snyder in the 7th. Thank you all
Nice.
for supporting that way. We love you much. Check out pods.media/alfalfa. So today we're drinking a little storage room tequila.
Is that what you're calling it?
This is leftover from our last art event.
I just want to clarify that's not why I'm not drinking.
Wait, you're not drinking?
You're not drinking?
I'm
Wait.
not drinking.
I thought what this whole time we were on the couch.
Don't worry. I could have left it till the end. You would have known the difference.
I would not have known the
You
difference.
would have known. I was about to go, not even say anything.
Wow.
And it has nothing to do with your storage room tequila.
Wow.
I had my birthday and I was like, I need a break.
Okay.
Take a little breather.
Taking a little breather.
Smart.
We're here
Yeah.
to support you.
Thank you.
Mm.
Was a fun B-day though.
It's not bad. This tequila's not bad. Birthday was great.
Yeah, we had a little celebration out in the park. Pickleball, one area of the party. Grass right next to it with some little drinking and
Ocean
food.
view.
Ocean view
Dude, that was amazing.
in Coronado. Yeah, I like that spot.
Yeah.
We should do that more
I
often.
feel like blending activities with the friendship is like that's the way forward.
Activity movement
Yeah, movement.
with some
drinking.
recreation.
I think you can still drink and hang out with friends, but then like also move the body and stuff.
Optionality.
Yeah, it's really
that was
nice.
a good unlock. That was
Really
very
Wives
good.
liked it. Dogs liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was WAG friendly.
Yeah, whack friendly.
It was WAG friendly. Yeah.
PSA. Those Cutwater cocktail cans.
Wow.
Pretty strong.
Should you
I
left.
took
You
off
should've-
early, so
Should have seen him at the end.
That was
He
me.
went cross-eyed.
Yes, he carried him out.
I thought I was having like a nice chill evening. Had 3 of those things.
My God, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
I-
great.
I was in the passenger
Those are
seat.
pretty
on the way
good, though,
home.
those Cutwater.
Yeah,
Not bad.
they're tasty.
Remember that episode I did with Steven where it was like sloshy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was like that. Yeah.
a little bit.
Except
little
thank God he didn't have a microphone on at least.
Yeah. It's not recorded
Yeah.
and
That's
enshrined
okay.
into the blockchain.
Mine's imprinted.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, little Casadores, and on the rocks with some Pellegrino.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Check out zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Armand, you didn't have yours because you're not drinking today, but
I know.
I had mine.
I did just get a new pack.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh wow, what
see
way to
how long
set
it's-
yourself up for success
how long it
on
sits
not
there.
drinking and
I know.
taking a pause. But you're ready if you need to be.
I'm ready.
So yeah, I took Z-Biotics a couple hours before this. You should take it 1 to 2 hours before drinking, and make sure that morning is not so rough. So yeah, got work in the morning, got some things to do, maybe a workout. So looking forward to not being dragged down after a few drinks with you boys. Go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa for 15% off and use the code alfalfa at checkout. They have a money back guarantee, and thanks Z-Biotics for being part of the team and sponsoring the pod.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. So, should we get into a little alfalfa round?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
What are you giggling about over there? You're giving
no,
me a
I'm
look
just-
like.
I'm looking at what I have queued up for later.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just that excited. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a feel good little thing I want to share.
All right. Actually, can you pull up the tab that says alfalfa round? I want to just show this on the screen while I go through this.
I sure can.
So I
Alfalfa
listened
round.
to a podcast. I think it's called the podcast is called The Knowledge Project.
Oh, you want this link?
Just show it up on there so people can
All right.
reference
Pop,
it if they
pop
want.
it over, Poppy.
Yeah, so it's Jim Lower, and he's a performance coach. So he helps mainly athletes, and they did this podcast on, understanding that voice inside of your head. I think we all know it's there, and
Oh, yeah.
Obvious conclusion that voice inside your head kind of predicts your destiny. Is it a positive one? Is it a supportive one? Is it like a one that kind of hurts you and takes away from your goals? And so anyway, there was a specific part of the podcast where he gave a protocol for how to change the internal voice in
Oh,
the story.
wow.
So when you get to the point where you're aware that whatever those like things that are going on in back of your mind are not supporting you, and you're like, okay, well, I'm aware that they're not good.
Yeah. So then you can modify those.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is huge.
Yeah. I listened to this. I was like, okay, I'm writing this down, and then I thought this would be a good time to share it.
So is this guy a psychologist?
Yeah. Yep.
So is he essentially just talking about like CBT,
I don't know what that is.
cognitive behavioral?
I don't know.
therapy,
Maybe
where
I'll
you
describe it, and you could tell me.
adjust the thoughts and
Yeah. What is? I mean,
It's the most proven method to improve your well-being,
Yeah.
scientifically speaking, from a
I think so.
psychology perspective.
And it's particularly helpful when you have like trauma, someone passes away, or like you have a big failure, and you're just have these things going on in your head, and you don't really know how to like change the route. So anyway, they tried a bunch of stuff, and the conclusion, and this part is a little obvious, that your hand has the greatest impact to like rewriting neural networks in order to change
Wait,
the
you
story.
mean like physically, like your hand?
Yeah, so writing things down.
Oh,
And
writing things down.
Obviously, if you're trying to remember something, writing it down is one of the common answers to like
Definitely.
what will help, right? So here's the protocol. Once you have a bad story, you write it out by hand. Write a new story, okay? And I'll give an example in a second. And then rewrite it several times from memory. So don't look at the previous one you wrote and just rewrite it. Like rewrite it from memory, give some new energy to it, maybe say it a few different ways. So do that several times, and then read it every time you do it. And then he has his athletes read it out loud into a voice memo, and then listen to the voice memo. So it's multimodal, right? And it's essentially your own voice
Yeah.
teaching you, coaching you, and doing that over and over again is his most scientific way to rewrite it. So,
Wow.
for example, I hate putting. I'm never good at putting. There's so many other people who are better at putting than I am. I'll
fucking
never
hate
be
putting. Yeah.
as good at putting than these guys.
Right.
That's the story. So you might change it to something like this. At this point in my life, the truth is, if you look at the stats and prior history, I'm pretty poor at putting. But I'm an athlete, I'm a great learner, or you could substitute I'm a great business person, and I'm going to be one of the greatest at putting in the business. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to devote more energy and more effort and make this the best skill set in my toolbox. And I'm going to love doing it. And every chance I see a green or get a chance to putt, I'm going to light up at the opportunity to get better at it. And if I don't do a great job at it, if I miss a 3-foot putt, I'm going to say, thank God I got that out of my system, and I'm going to get better from here. And so that was like, I took that as like a template that you could use to fill in the blank of whatever you're trying to do. And I'd imagine if you rewrote it 10 times in different ways from memory. I'm Amy Poehler. Spoke it out yourself, and then, listen to it. Should help. So anyway, that was
that's really
the
cool,
expert's protocol.
That's cool, Alfalfa. I feel like, is that sort of like, you remember the book that we all love so much? Of course, you remember Think and Grow Rich. He has a chapter called Autosuggestion. Is that what that is? Like, where you sort of just like tell yourself?
Yeah. What are they called when you, self-affirmations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely nerded out on those.
Sounds like an interesting combination of like Carol Dweck's work around growth mindset. So having like flexibility in your thinking and not having like a narrow fixed thinking that what is today will not be tomorrow, and like embracing falling down, but then reframing, combined with like CBT, which is the cognitive behavioral therapy. As I was saying, CBT is like the most sort of like relied upon, highest efficacy form of therapy. And the only thing, actually, I brought this up on the pod once, the only thing that I'm aware of that has been proven to be more effective in terms of like therapy is tapping. You guys remember when I talked about tapping in one of those studies? And again, I don't know how widely it's been studied, but it looked like pretty, robust. And tapping is the only thing that is more likely to move people out of anxiety or depression, and more rapidly than even CBT. But I love CBT. I think it's awesome. I think one of the Godfather books for this is called Feeling Good as well. I forget who that's from, but if anyone's interested, just to add to your David Burns, another great resource on the topic that you're bringing up, Nick.
Yeah. Anyway, so I like little protocols like that to use. I've done something similar naturally, and I think it helps. So hopefully it's helpful someone out there.
Nice one.
Anyone else got any little alfalfa to share?
I got one.
Yeah, I don't have one this week, so why don't you go?
Okay. So I randomly stumbled upon this, and I thought it was so wild. So I have like, I think you do too, Nick. We were talking about this the other day. Like every subscription you can possibly imagine, we have like a subscription to, and it's because
you pay 4 times a cable subscription.
My wife doesn't listen to this, so it's fine. But like, she'll literally just be like, "I want to see that," and it'll be like one episode of one show. She'll subscribe. It'll stay on for the next 3 years. So we have everything. We have like subscriptions I've never even heard of. But anyway, I sit down for the first time on the couch in like forever and turn on the TV. I literally don't do this. I know most Americans, most people like sit down and watch TV every day. I haven't done it in forever. And I turn on, I click on Prime Video for whatever reason. And I'm like, what's in my saved Prime list? I don't know. I was just
what's
clicking around. And then I see this like live TV thing within Prime. And I click into that. Dude, there are like 700 channels within Amazon Prime Live.
We have TV again?
We have TV. And it's not just that you have like YouTube TV style for free within the Prime subscription. Because like YouTube TV, for example, I think we pay like $75 a month just for YouTube TV.
And that gets you like
like cable.
Yeah, like CBS, ABC.
Yeah.
And,
so I have that. Again, we have them all. But it's like, I open up Prime TV, and the most fascinating thing about Prime TV was that all of your old favorite shows or any niche topic that you're into is a 24/7 running channel. So, for example, like I realized that's where Steven's probably watching pickleball. There's literally pickleball TV 24 hours a day. Just like, I don't know if it's really 24 hours a day, but there's a channel called PBTV. And I just sat back and started watching PBTV.
I think I've seen this. It's like a Vice channel, and it's just all their videos.
It's just everything. A Judge Judy channel. like 4 different versions of shitty like reality TV channel. You know, like Bravo. There's like 4 sub Bravo channels.
When Alfalfa TV.
There's like 7 different Nat Geo channels. Yeah, it's like if we wanted a
Let's get
show,
a fucking channel,
we would
boys.
get one on Prime.
Let's get a channel,
They would have
boys.
no problem. They'd be like channel number 782.
Yeah.
Here you go. It's actually sick. I think we should look into it.
That would be
But
fun.
yeah, it was cool because I loved that. A, I don't think people know they realize they have that, and B, or this might actually be one of those things that everyone knows that they have. Like Steven didn't know you could do the spacebar thing. So if I'm that guy right now, please let me know if everyone already knew about this.
No, I actually think this is for people that have hit like the end of, of Amazon Prime. You've like reached the end, and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah. But yeah, it's also interesting from a perspective of like if you just want to watch that thing that you really love, it's always there. Actually.
Yeah, there's one channel that I love. I'm into cooking is like kind of like my thing.
Okay.
And there's this one show called America's Test Kitchen that's on all of these like free networks.
It's like a Julia Childs.
Because I have like a Samsung TV, and like Samsung has its own like.
Oh yeah, it comes with like what you're saying. That
Sort
Prime.
of what you're saying. I got like 300 channels on there of like a bunch of crap.
Bloomberg's on there.
Bloomberg is on there. That's the only thing that I actually do like. But then they have America's Test Kitchen.
They have this like Cheddar Money channel. It's kind of mediocre.
Oh, have you learned
Yeah.
anything from there?
No, but I dabbled.
Should we be on Cheddar? Is that what we should
I think
be?
we could do better. Have you noticed that like ESPN is basically has like kind of live podcast studio shows now? I don't know if they're getting lazier
Right,
or
who's
that's
this,
just
like-
more authentic.
This sort of like white guy wearing a tank top is always screaming now. He's
Yeah.
like on every show.
Ex NFL,
Yeah.
give them like 2 to 4 hours every day,
Right.
and then sometimes it'll just be like 2 guys chatting on a Zoom with their like headphones
Damn.
in.
I just saw that their earnings came through and they're just bleeding. They're
Disney?
dying. Yeah. Well, the ESPN particularly.
Oh, it used to be the cash cow.
Yeah.
Wait, so
They got to offload that thing.
oof. ESPN is losing money?
Yeah. Big.
Robin Hood earnings came out today. Good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Robin Hood got a freaking Wells.
SEC Wells notice.
Wells knows.
Yeah, I sold half my options before this earnings, and I'll sell the rest tomorrow.
How'd they do? How'd the earnings go?
Good. It looks like they I think they were like estimated like 50 million in earnings, and they had like 150 or something. It was multiples.
What?
Did the stock respond?
It was up 6%, and after hours, my last check could be down. Who knows?
Let's go.
Well, according to Eric, crypto is boring. So
I'm so bored of it. Well,
that was a good talk. I enjoyed that pre-pod talk.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't disagree with that take.
yeah, my discussion on that was in our last Irresponsibly Long episode with Steven, talking about how I thought Coinbase, like the retail Coinbase traders are not going to just come in droves because there's nothing cool anymore. It's like nothing cool to trade. No cool tech, nothing innovative. It's like this with hat or a different president spelled incorrectly. It's like so fucking boring.
It's so bad. I mean, what I was saying to Eric too is like, everyone was shitting on crypto in the last cycle with NFTs, but at least there was a conversation with normies about everyone constantly asking, well, what is an NFT? What does it stand for? What can you do with it? And actually the technology is interesting. Being able to have something on chain in a non-fungible asset form, track it, people go like, oh, so what is a blockchain? Oh, can this be used for real estate? Can this be used for this? What's the use case of this going to be in the future? It got people excited about the technology. There's nothing in that sense right now. It's a casino of memes, and we're arguing and bickering over whether there's inherent innate value in memes existing at all in the form of tokens.
Yeah.
It's really quite like a stretch.
It doesn't seem like there's a flood of new users. Like the trading volume is up probably from people who've hung around, but like the Coinbase earnings, they didn't meet or beat on new users. I think if you look at like social media metrics or trends or Coinbase app ranking, that's not really pumping. Eric and I did a talk with financial advisors. Their like just general awareness was pretty low, I think, relative to what we might have expected. What was that? Was it Ohio State commencement speech?
Oh yeah.
He got booed.
He got booed. Like it's not.
I guess because it was cringe, the way he did it.
I mean, I wouldn't have honored my graduation with, even though I love Bitcoin.
Do you guys think it got booed though because general sentiment toward Bitcoin and crypto is negative, even with the young, or it was just because of the timing, the place, the way he did it?
Coin toss, like a little bit of both.
I think
Yeah.
part of it, I was like thinking that if you're gonna give financial advice, you shouldn't be like just out of college.
Well, he was like, I did ayahuasca, and I came up with this during my trip with ayahuasca, and I just discovered Bitcoin a few months ago.
But you should all fucking
Buy it.
buy this thing. It's kind
Yeah,
of like
I think it just showed, like, it was just a little cringe.
Our friend Marcus just got back from Dubai for Token 2049, I think it's called, and Paris
Yeah.
Blockchain Week as well. And he said the big talks were the decentralized physical infrastructure, which his company's a part of, Helium, and then RWAs, but most importantly, like how to take financial assets on chain. So I don't know if that's something like
Yawn.
the average person can get behind.
Yawn.
Maybe that's why.
yeah. I think the DPIN stuff is probably the most interesting things happening in crypto right now.
I mean, I would love to trade financial assets 24/7.
Well, I did see that a couple banks today were partnering together to like create blockchain infrastructure, probably like in a non-public ledger, but it would give the 24/7 settlement.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Well, that wasn't on the agenda, but that must have needed to come out.
Yeah, it was cathartic.
What were you smirking at showing us earlier?
Okay.
Show us.
I feel like the best part of this tweet is actually the caption.
Okay.
For me, I mean, I love everything about this, but I just want you to focus on the caption. So the caption of this, and God, you really got to be watching the video if you're listening. I'm sorry, you got to start watching us on Spotify or YouTube.
Read the caption.
Yes, the caption says,
over to you.
"The European mind cannot physically comprehend this." And now I'm going to play. And for those of you not watching, so throwback to Limp Bizkit performing at WWF. Undertaker rolling out on a motorcycle. This is
With
peak America, man.
The massive American flag on the back.
Massive American flags, chicks dancing with their Limp Bizkit style baggy pants on. This is when hip hop and rock were blending. The culture was at its peak. The 90s were just fucking sending. The world was on fire in the best way possible. The European mind cannot physically comprehend why we would even get to this level. But at the same time, my real question for you, beyond like, okay, this is peak America, is this peak humanity? Like for our lifetime, is that as good as it's going to get?
I fucking hope not.
These poor European minds, man.
Dude, if that was the top, like we're in the fourth turning.
So what were we, like 10 years old when this was
We need
going on?
another
12 years
100
old?
years to get back to that peak again.
I mean, if you look at it, it's like a perfect setup for peak humanity. I mean, you had economic growth, right? The 90s were crushing. Companies were growing. Stock market doing well. You had innovation, internet like blooming. You have like culture and just every bit of culture just blossoming. Like every type of music, hip hop, grunge music, Limp Bizkit, movies and television. I mean, some like timeless stuff that's still around today.
Felt like GOAT level.
I'll tell you, like, not even
Everything.
And then there's like
Athletes were GOAT level.
general and,
Movies were GOAT
like
level.
peace and safety. Like this is pre 9/11.
You
like
walked out, you rode your bike, you met up with your friends, you dropped the bike on the lawn, you didn't worry about it getting stolen. You know, there was crime. People were smoking crack, but you felt okay. And I don't know, they've looked at the data, we've looked at the data, and we're safer than we were. But we feel less safe today.
We're safer than 90, or no, we're
Yes.
safer now than in the 90s.
Yes.
That definitely doesn't feel that way.
Doesn't feel that way.
I'll tell
That's
you
the
that,
irony of the situation.
like-
People don't let their kids out to do those things anymore unless they're on Coronado Island in a tiny little segment of it where it still feels like the Truman Show. I don't know many places outside of that, in cities at least. You can find that in suburbia, I'm sure, throughout the world. But like, you live in a place like San Diego, New York, San Francisco, whatever, none of that exists. Like, you can't do that anymore.
When I think of the 90s, I think it's not like of all the things that we had in the 90s. It's like the things that we didn't, like back then, we don't have what we have now. We don't have this fucking polarized world and the political strife. We don't have like so many homeless in every American city.
Yeah, we had color blindness. You remember that good feeling of color blindness
Yeah.
back in the 90s and early 2000s?
Yeah.
Where it was like, you were like, nah, man, we're the same. But now it's like, no, we are not the same. And let me tell you all the reasons why we are not the same. And my strife is more important than yours. It's like, oh God.
I saw a post on Twitter. It was like, can anyone teach my Harvard class about optimism and explain what it is? And it was like prefer women in POCs, and I was like, what the fuck is a POC? It's a person of color.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
come on, dude.
We didn't have those, and did we?
No,
Right?
but we didn't have that phrase.
What does
have
it
DEI
matter? Just
phrase.
get someone who's good at teaching you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There's so many factors across all of this. And I just wonder, like, so one of the things I've wondered just even psychologically within myself, I'm like, am I actually having like, is my perspective incorrect? Was my brain just not yet fully formed? Where everything just felt a little bit like twilighty and twinkly and wonderful, and I hadn't gone through any strife in my life, and I hadn't gone through failure, I hadn't gone through loss, I hadn't gone through pain and suffering. Is that why the 90s feels so amazing? And I was in my like, younger years and like, adolescent years. Is that why everything felt amazing? But you talk to people older than us, previous generations, and they agree. They're like, it was a great time, man. It was a really good time.
Well, think back, like, so we were growing up at this point, but then there were older generations watching what we were doing, right? And like now you look at kids, what they're doing is different than what we were doing. What we were doing was like, we had baggy pants. That was like a thing. We sagged. That was a big thing. We were sagging. We were like, sagging was so weird.
It was so weird. It was so weird.
Like tattoos, we made really mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think like doing like colored hair, like pink hair and shit. Like you see that all the time now.
Bleached hair.
Like we started all that shit. The bleached hair, the pink hair. I think that was like sort of our stuff. And none of that was that really like dramatic
Right,
compared to what's happening now.
No, not at all. It still felt like digestible,
Yeah.
for people, for older generations. They're like, okay, you guys have terrible style and you're like coloring your hair and you're doing tattoos and your music is kind of like questionable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think things are so much more volatile and
well, now it's
extreme
like
now.
it's not like you're just a little weird emotionally. It's like, oh no, your suicide rates are peaking.
Yeah,
it's a little
mental
more serious.
health and all of those other aspects and social media. I mean, we've talked about this stuff. Jonathan Haidt. We've talked about. We're going to talk today about Scott Galloway. A little teaser of his TED Talk and like, is the U.S. destroying our youth? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I know that was an amazing time. Like it really felt like, I'm actually like, I would love to do a little bit of like, get the community to share their favorite like nostalgia from the 90s. The reason I like that so much is because like, honestly, I watch a video like this or I hear somebody remind me of things from that era and it actually just feels warm and fuzzy. Like, please share it with me for the warm and fuzzies.
So like hip hop was becoming like really mainstream at that time, and it was like really good.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was the greatest era of hip hop
it's
ever.
like Biggie and like all that. But then like even like around Limp Bizkit time, like Eminem came along and he was
Yeah.
like fucking awesome. Like and he like brought in more people.
Boy bands
Bands.
were born.
Yeah.
Give me some more of that
R&B,
good-hearted goodness.
R&B.
Oh my gosh, R&B was like on fire.
Like sex making music.
did-
There's no
Genuine.
sex making music anymore because no one has sex anymore. There's no sex making music.
It was all
Where's
R&B.
Keith Sweat?
Keith Sweat.
Where is it?
Genuine.
Where is Genuine? Where is it all?
In the 90s, you could see
Now they're
some
just like
some hard
that-
motherfuckers driving around to Keith Sweat. Just like, and you wouldn't
real.
question it. You wouldn't be like, well, that's weird.
No, you'd be like, that guy's bad.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's
Wait, are you
gangster.
sure there's not R&B music now?
No, not that anybody listens to. No.
Is it
What
just
was the
like
last R&B song you?
I don't know. I've never heard on.
Not that the
it's
radio
not like
is a thing, but there's no R&B that's like in the top hits anymore. No, that's
Wow.
that's as dead as hip hop.
You guys have your old
That's-
R&B playlists
Oh, yeah.
somewhere?
Oh, it's called Down a Notch, and I still put it on.
I'm sure it's called something different, but yeah, nice save.
Absolutely, definitely have it.
Okay, also
some
share
Genuine on there
R&B
for sure.
playlist. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, did anybody chime in the chat on these? Oh my god, Pogs. Was that 90s or was that 80s?
Yeah, that was
Pogs?
90s.
90s.
That was 90s.
That
90s.
was-
Yeah,
wow.
I was a Pog collector.
I collected, but it was like a weird game. It was a
I
weird,
still don't even know how it was played. I just wanted them.
yeah, I just collect a bunch of slammers.
Yes. What was the rule? Like you go to school, bring them, and if you like slam the others, you kept their
You
shit.
kept their shit.
Yeah, you kept theirs. Yeah, and the big slammers were like everyone was looking for the big
Oh
ones.
yeah, I had like a metal one. It
Yeah,
was
metal
like
one.
a pound.
Yeah.
now you have this NFT.
Oh yeah, man. Dan Simmons reminding, like, remember the crush you had on Britney Spears? I mean, I did. Like, that was a tingly good feeling. It was a very good feeling.
She was like the hottest
She was
girl
so hot.
ever made.
Yeah. It was such a good feeling.
The posters, the Britney posters,
Oh man.
were on fire.
I can't believe, yeah, that felt weird. That was so weird. Oh, so much nostalgia. I love nostalgia.
All right, let's bring it back. I didn't realize that would make me feel good.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, actually, that's a good argument for like R&B. We don't call it R&B anymore, but The Weeknd and some old Drake.
Yeah.
That's like what's in my Down a Notch playlist.
yeah, that's basically R&B.
Yeah.
Huh?
Does anyone have it
Yeah.
in their bookmark of things to look at to catch up on some Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef?
Oh, I've been up on it. Yeah.
You've been up on
Yeah,
it?
we've been talking
Oh.
about it in the Discord.
Oh no, I've been withholding. I need like a full rundown, sequential music
I have that
song
for
listening.
you.
Okay,
I can share a tweet that has like
the video.
just like who started it and then what each response song is.
Lovely.
Chronology.
I'm too old for this shit, and you guys are quickly approaching.
Yeah,
being
also too
for
old.
this shit.
all I can tell you is that Kendrick Lamar ate Drake's soul.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
in his second to last drop. Yeah.
all right. What do we got next?
What do we got next? Let's see.
Can we talk about this Biden economic advisor?
We sure can.
Okay.
How much of this video am I playing?
It's a minute 42.
It's quite. I'll play it till it's like shocking and jaw dropping. So this is Jared.
I think you skip like to
Bernstein.
30 seconds in and just hear him babble.
Yeah, chair of the Council of Economic Advisors to President Joseph Biden. This is like the person advising the president on the economy.
Because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do?
Is that what they do?
They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds
yeah.
and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to yeah, I guess I can't really talk. I don't
can't
get
talk.
it. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't get it.
It's like,
All right, that's enough. That's too
Wow.
painful.
Dude, that was
That's too painful.
that sucked.
Yeah, that's it's like as heartbreaking as everything else we're
The
dealing with.
producer of
right
that
now.
documentary is like, should we give him another hack at this? Like, that was pretty.
It's that bad.
No,
Bad.
I think the producer
not
was like,
bad.
"We got it, guys. We got the gold. We're gonna be huge."
My
So-
only argument that I can think for him to steelman it is, did he just get so nervous? But he doesn't appear nervous. He appears like he doesn't know what.
Can I
he's
give you guys this
talking
guy's
about.
educational background?
Please.
That might bring some context. So this guy got a bachelor's degree in music from Manhattan School of Music. He's kind of in the 80s jazz scene in New York, big timer. Master's in
background.
social work from Hunter College.
Oh, no.
And he got some kind of degree in social welfare from Columbia University.
Oh no.
So he's a big proponent of modern monetary theory, which is, they basically propose that like we can just spend to infinitum and everything will work out.
Wait, are we
fine.
sure this is real? Like, was that like a real guy? Like,
No,
have
no,
we-
he's
have we like
this
done
is
our
real.
He's the chair of the Council of Economic.
It went
our research
extremely
on that?
viral. Everyone has been sharing this across
because it looks like
internets.
satire.
It does. I mean, when I tweeted it, I was like, I will not believe this is real.
So this guy believes in infinite fiscal spending, right? But like his inability to understand how money or fiscal spending works is like a perfect example why you don't want leaders in the government to have infinite spending power. Like he clearly doesn't understand the concepts. I don't know. Maybe he woke up on, maybe he had a rough night, didn't take his Z-biotics, whatever it is. But still, that was pretty rough.
Is it possible that he just didn't want to say that we print and then we lend it so that we can just monetize our debt? Like, is it possible that he didn't want to just like spell it out so clearly?
I just found it confusing that he thought the government lends the money. It's like, no, it's the other way around, brother.
We're borrowing money.
Yeah, the government borrows the money.
I don't know what to say.
I mean,
about
listen,
it.
like in the concept of like printing money and how new money is created is not like a simple concept. Most people don't understand that, but like he didn't understand the basics of, issuing treasuries and why the government does it and how they do it.
I think a conversation to have, just a quick discussion around it that's interesting is like, well, did the guy know what he's talking about? Should people like this be in charge? Blah, blah, blah. Is how frightening is it? All that stuff aside, the way that this video was used in throughout Twitter was by the Bitcoin people to express, we're fucked, buy Bitcoin. So I was curious your guys' response to that. Like, is that just like kind of being used in a sort of propagandist way and that's just like clickbait? Or does that actually like make you feel, does this make you feel less secure about the future of the country, the economy, the people in charge, the way the revolving doors currently operate, the people that are allowed to be in power? Like, are we going to bankrupt ourselves clearly, like just simply because we are so inept and the people that enter these positions are so inept? Like, is this a real concern? Therefore, buy Bitcoin? I don't know. Like, that's the question people
I think
ask.
it's a fair question. What I think of this guy is independent of all your questions. Like, I don't think this guy is in power. Like, he might
Right.
have a fucking title or whatever. I think he's not anybody. Like, we see the people who are in power. It's not him. I've never seen this guy in my life. Thought he was an actor. Like, I don't care about this guy.
You can tell this is a guy who had social influence and power because he was on the transition team. And I imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I'd imagine he's got some social capital and was a big fundraiser, during the campaign. And they're like, okay, we'll put you on the transition team, give you a spot of power, and here's some like, I don't know, semi-inconsequential chair.
Yeah, here, take this role and like do an interview or two. But like, they don't expect him to fuck it all
Be a
up.
liability for the next campaign. But I mean, to your point, Armand, yeah. I mean, I think yes. Like, is this guy an example of what certain administrations like to think, that fiscal spending can, go unfettered and just let it rip? And does that concern me? Yeah, I think that's the whole reason you buy Bitcoin in the first place, is the currency debasement. Like, inflation, one thing aside, but debasement is the thing that we're most worried about. And, maybe why our generation, sees asset prices like home prices so out of reach relative to their income. Even if you're an above average earner, asset prices are out of whack because of this debasement. And it's happening now as we speak. The fiscal deficit last year was probably greater on a percentage basis than it is this year, but we're still, we're going through like an economic growth period, and we're spending like it's a depression. Like you only dip into the piggy bank and borrow when the economy needs it. And we're ripping and roaring right now, and we're spending money like crazy. So yeah, I think you should be concerned about debasement. And yes, having a portion of your money in Bitcoin I think is good insurance for it.
Agreed.
Yeah, price of Bitcoin, price of a Bitcoin is not going to be any like lower than we imagine, like over a long period of time.
And the funny thing is, like, if you invest in Bitcoin because it's the best speculation play, like if you are long speculation, Bitcoin is the fastest horse, or you invest in it because you're worried about debasement, I still think you're right in both cases, no matter what
You're right
happens.
in
So
both.
if they spend so much money and pump the economy, there will be speculation and you will be debased. And so in both cases, that those two arguments kind of, I don't know, make sense to me.
So at the price where like gold is, right? Like in the market cap of gold is what? Probably like, it was 10 trillion a while ago and it's gone up a little
Like
bit.
14,
so,
15
so it's
trillion
15
maybe right
trillion now. like I think Bitcoin is still sort of like pretty nascent compared to gold, right? So you got a lot of onboarding to do before you get to like this this like long-term sustainable rate of growth, which is to offset monetary debasement, right?
Right. And you need onboarding and offboarding. Offboarding of boomers and onboarding of more people in the like 18 to 25 year demographic.
But do you think that, because like the boomers will choose gold as their asset of choice to play this, and then
Which is also not a bad investment. Like,
Sure.
Like
like gold has appreciated basically at the rate of inflation over a 100-year
You
chart.
kept your store of value in regards to inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Bitcoin ultimately does find like that level. It's just going to take a while because we got a lot of onboarding to do.
Yeah. Maybe another decade or two.
But in that decade, the returns are going to be much higher than gold's, like
Yeah.
because you're onboarding people.
Agreed. So I think anyone listening to this podcast has probably heard these before, kind of agrees.
I have a really sharp right turn.
Okay.
I have a bad boy idea.
What?
So I am currently logged into Steven's Twitter on
This is Steven's
on this computer.
Hmm.
And if you guys are okay with it, I propose to the chat to tell me what to tweet.
Good
and I'll
prompt,
pick the
sir.
best one.
Yeah, let the chat decide, but I don't. Yeah,
And
he's not going to like this.
He's not going to like this.
I think this is a great idea.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just seeing that. Can you just put it on the screen? There's just like a giant post button staring at me,
What's happening?
and I can say anything
What's
right now.
happening, Steven?
I could say anything.
All right.
Turn into a game.
The poll is open.
The poll is open. Make a super chat. Tell me what to post. Yeah, he'll hate this.
Okay.
He's so angry right now.
Should we go to the Scott Galloway
Yes.
video?
Yes.
We're
ready.
Let's cue it up. Whose do you want to put up first? I think
Yeah.
Eric's maybe.
I think whichever one this is.
The intro one, yeah, for like a minute 30.
You guys have a just. I guess I can give a quick. So yeah, TED Talk by Scott Galloway, titled "How the U.S. is Destroying Young People's Future," has definitely made the rounds. Looks like 3.5 million views just on the YouTube.
He's a professor at
in a week.
NYU.
Yep.
He's a pretty prolific author. I half like some of his takes and half find him just really tough to tolerate.
A little tough to tolerate.
Yeah.
I don't know if like falls in the bucket of insufferable, but just like a little much sometimes.
Yeah. But sometimes I'm like,
But
I agree with that.
sometimes
And other
very
times I'm like,
refreshing.
whoa, dude, you're so off base
I
here.
really
Yeah.
just like I try to measure him on his ideas. I think the ideas are hit and miss, but I think the way he delivers his ideas are pretty hit.
Yeah, like
he's
that's
pretty
what I
good.
was sent you guys in the chat. I was like, if you just watch the talk in terms of his presentation, it's very good.
He's a great
His
communicator.
presentation is very good. I am blown away at how many F-bombs he got away with
On a
the
TED Talk?
stage. I'm blown away.
I think he's pretty self-aware of a guy too. I've
Yeah.
like, noticed that.
Yeah, and
I like-
humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we basically are pulling a couple pieces from this TED Talk that we found most interesting. So here's one from.
So this first one
from
kind of
Eric.
like sets it up. It kind of like tells
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
Is it like you want to play like half a minute?
Yeah,
Well,
probably like
you signal to me. when it's
Essentially,
good.
as we go down generations, we're seeing that for the last 2 generations, people are making less money on an inflation-adjusted basis. In addition, the cost of buying a home, the cost of pursuing education continues to skyrocket. So the purchasing power, the prosperity is inversely correlated to age. Simply put, as we get younger, we're taking away opportunity and prosperity from our youngest. The social contract that is now no longer in place, and for the first time in the U.S.'s history, a 30-year-old is no longer doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. This is a breakdown in the fundamental agreement we have with any society.
yeah, this
And
is kind of like that's kind of like sets up the stage for what his talk is about, I think. So for the first time, wealth has gone in reverse. Like wealth building has gone in reverse, and I think that's like the crux of his.
Yeah, so I
statement.
thought this data was really interesting, right? It's just like annual cost of college,
As a
house price to income ratio.
Yeah.
of each
7x.
generation at
Yeah.
25.
Today it takes 7x your annual salary to buy a home
And
on
for,
average.
2 generations ago, it was 3x. So,
Oh, look at that. Annual cost of public college as a percentage of
Right.
income. So 2 generations ago,
half of your income now.
14% to 17%. Yeah, now over 40%.
It's absolutely wild.
So yeah, so like
Not only
kids-
is it half your income, but it has, I don't know, I would argue half the utility
Yes.
and value that it once.
He
had.
talked about that. He got into, was it Berkeley with like a 2-point
Yeah.
something GPA?
Just fucking around.
he said
Yeah.
he went to UCLA for undergrad, and the only thing he learned how to do was build a bomb using spare parts, and then graduated.
I thought he said bong.
a bong.
Did
Sure.
he? I don't know what he said.
Yeah,
Did he
either
say-
way, either
I
way,
thought he
it's-
said bong.
Either way, just as friggin' moronic. But
Yeah.
like, then he goes to Cal for grad school with like a 2.6 or whatever. And nowadays, like,
You need a 4.1 million.
yeah,
you
like
know, to
a
even
5.6 doesn't get you into San Diego State anymore.
I know. It
Right.
really doesn't. Yeah. And the degree is
And I think part of, we'll probably get into this more, but like, we see stats like people are feeling disillusioned now. Young people are feeling disillusioned. Like, isn't this a big part of it? It's like, it's not just about the tech. It's like a lot about this. Like you were sort of promised, hey, go to college, get good grades, everything's going to work out. And like this shit happens.
All right, so we got a super chat.
Oh my
and, Hook 'em.
before I continue forward, is Steven going to hate me for this?
Yeah, he's going to
I think he'll call it like a slight violation of trust.
Is it?
No, I think he's going to hate you for it. Oh, God. Like, I think the amount of hate you're underestimating.
Does this cross the line?
I don't know.
I don't
need
know,
help.
but Hook 'em
All I did
donated.
was propose the idea.
Hook 'em donated $10. Said to all my followers, announcing that I will only be covering macro and fundamentals going forward. Please share and retweet.
Please
Oh,
don't do
God.
that. Like, no, I
Oh,
don't think he
God.
actually wants that. at
Oh,
all.
he's beautiful. He's probably like 7 wines deep. He's about to fall asleep in
Don't
France.
crypto people on Twitter do that kind of stuff all the time just to be facetious? That actually makes sense. It's like, I feel like there's
There
been
was
so
like
many
a-
times I've been following like DC Investor and he'll say something ridiculous like that.
those are always-
this could be good for him.
They're always copy pastas.
You could always subtweet.
But what if
I hacked
Steven
Steven's
becomes
account?
the copy pasta? Does that work or no? That doesn't work. I don't understand Twitter enough, clearly.
Okay, so I think the next.
Can't be facetious in your copy pasta. Original.
Armand,
statement.
can you post the next my clip?
So am I doing this?
Yeah. Wait. I don't know. Let's let it simmer for a second.
Okay,
We can
all
after
right.
this little segment
All right.
we can decide.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Wait, he did it multiple ways. Hook him again. Oh my God.
All right.
Wait, how did he get this little bouncing
What
thing
do you
on
mean?
my face?
That's how we have it hooked up.
That's
so
our
super
super
chat
chat.
goes up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Welcome to the party. All right. So, second one.
Yeah, this one.
All right.
No,
second
yeah,
clip.
that's the one.
Here we go.
Third rail, I'm going to talk about Social Security. It would cost $11 billion to expand the child tax credit, but that got stripped out of the infrastructure bill. But the additional $135 billion a year to Social Security, that flies right through Congress. And every year we transfer $1.4 trillion from a cohort that is increasingly doing less well to the cohort that is the wealthiest cohort in the history of this planet. I'm not against Social Security, but the criteria should be if you need it, not whether you have a catheter. 80% of you have absolutely no reason to ever take Social Security. It is bankrupting our nation, and we have fallen under this mythology that somehow it's this great social program. No, it's not. It's the great transfer of wealth from young to old.
Boom. Mic drop.
Goddamn right. It is
Mic
so
drop.
true. Dude, he made this audience feel it throughout the entire talk.
I like this point because it kind of underpins his general argument, but also I think it's a great example. So Social Security, when it was created by Roosevelt, was like they want to provide Social Security to the elderly, disabled, and anyone who was like a wife or husband or children of like the main breadwinner. There was only one worker in the household, and if that person died, then like you don't want the rest of the family kind of like in dire straits. And so the current Social Security, I think this came out a few days ago actually, the main Social Security fund is projected to run out by 2035. So this isn't even like
Wunderbar.
3 decades out. This is, roughly 10 years out. And if we didn't make any changes, have to start decreasing the benefits. And there will be changes, right? More money will be pumped into it to make good on the promise, and it will mostly come out of taxes, or we'll borrow for it. We'll monetize the debt.
It will not come out of
fund it.
taxes. We'll borrow for it, dude.
Well, like right now, the share of fiscal spending that goes towards seniors, it's currently 40% of all of our tax revenue right now. So 40% of our tax revenue is spent on senior entitlement. So I think that includes Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah.
We spend 6x on seniors versus children. He mentioned like the child tax credit that didn't get through, but adding more money, Social Security will be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked up, the only criteria you need to get Social Security is you need to be at least 62 years old. You had to have worked X amount. They have these like credit.
You kind of had to like earn it
a little bit.
a little bit.
I don't know what that threshold is. I'd imagine it's not crazy, but
Right.
anyway, you had to put in a little bit, and then you just apply. So what that means is like you have Scott Galloway, who's probably like, multi-millionaire. You got Warren Buffett. This whole range of people is eligible to receive Social Security. And I think what it was intended to be and what we should start framing it as is a form of social insurance, right? So everyone puts in, and you have this risk pool, and we all pay into it. And like insurance, if you don't need it, you don't get it. So maybe some kind of means testing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that exactly should be, but that's how I feel like.
But
it
you
should
can
be.
set the bar high enough that like the people who are above the bar don't give a fuck. So like my parents, for instance, are like the most adamant about applying like a means test to Social Security because they still get it and they don't even notice or care. But they're
It's
like
probably ridiculous.
But they're
to
like,
them that
why are you guys giving me money? Like, what the fuck? Like, stop. Like,
Right.
So yeah, that's the point. I think like if you can set the bar at a level where like everybody above that level is just gonna be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I guess some of the problems just demographics, right? Like we're not making enough working age people that kept up with the baby boomer generation, but we're just at the start of those baby boomers like hitting Social Security age, I guess, or we're in the thicks of it. So, this debt load problem is going to compound.
And honestly, like what I'm suggesting isn't a solution. It's just the lowest hanging fruit. Like I think that just gets passed without anybody blinking. What I actually think is that the means test should be way lower. Like it should be like only people who really need it should get it, but that won't pass. So I'm just
Right.
like talking about what gets pushed through.
Yeah,
in a
he said
practical
what,
sense.
80%? That sounded a little high to get past.
But I think he was talking to the TED audience who was like literally live. I
Right.
mean, they're probably like business owners and wealthy people.
Right. And I don't know how you prove that, because like some people actually want to retire and not work. So maybe income is not the best, but I don't know, assets, investment income, who knows? But anyway, I just think like it should be thought of social insurance, and there should be some kind of means test.
And that's just one of the factors that these are just a couple of the factors, the real estate, the Social Security that he covers, right? His whole thesis here is how we are destroying the future generation, which
So
then
like,
in turn, of course, means the future of this country,
so go through these charts.
which then very much means that the entire world order is breaking. And so then he continues his discussion, and he shows some more charts. So if you want to switch to the screen again,
It's on. Yeah.
harm rates higher than ever, especially for young girls, 10 to 14. We did a whole episode on this. Teens with depression, higher for both girls and boys, especially for girls. No sex in the past year. We did an episode on this, 18 to 30. It's almost 30% males. That's absolutely insane. Gun deaths. So in some ways we did mention like some things are safer, but for, like schools, children, young children, it's not safer. Both for police officers and for young children. This is toddlers,
If
0
this
to
is
4.
schools or just like accidental gun deaths,
Yeah, not
like
sure.
Left the gun case unlocked or something.
Not sure. I've seen different both of those data points have been, but this chart doesn't clarify that. And then of course obesity, higher than ever. And what's this last chart here? Overdose deaths, drugs. So,
Wow.
People aren't having kids, not having one child. We've talked about that. Happiness down from number 10, for 60 plus, under 30, number 62. I mean, there's just so many things. It's just like this
Okay, so
assault. Then he goes over like I bought 3 stocks. I've made like 1,000x on those 3 stocks. I could have been a monkey and gotten that right. You know, he just bought 3 of the top performers from the Fortune 500 and he's made a killing.
Well,
he's like, that's not possible anymore.
Yeah, his
really.
argument was that in 2008, we actually let things crash a little bit. Sure, we had TARP and we saved it a little bit, but we didn't overload so much money where we didn't even have a crash. And he was like, that crash served as my cohort's opportunity to like buy good assets at a reasonable price and then be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and then he talked about, I think within that, like allowing things to crash is an important part of the cycle, because that is like when the wealth transfer happens, because like people who are like the incumbents who have all the wealth, when the crash happens, prices come down and allows new buyers to come in and buy for cheap. And that's a healthy, natural thing.
Yeah. I loved that. We propped it up. We didn't allow it to happen. And I loved his problem analysis. I think we all agree on that. I'm really curious of you guys' perspective on his solution proposals. Like, for example, he starts going into a lot of these like social ideas and socialist leaning ideas. He's like, you know, first one here, we have the money. We're not spending it appropriately. And he starts to go into increasing minimum wage, refunding the IRS, reforming Social Security, negative income tax, which is like a just a reframe of
UBI.
Of UBI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of some of his proposals on the economic side?
I thought he was really good at highlighting problems, but I didn't like his like framing of the solution. Like he often framed these problems as like intentional, as in like Cabal A and Cabal B teamed up, and you know they're the ones who are masterminding this like deconstruction of youth in society. And I don't know, I tend to not like jive with those kind of like cabalish.
I agree with you, but I think on this particular one, it does make sense, because old people are voting with self-interest, and they are voting for, you know, policies that benefit them.
Yeah, so that seemed to be a cabal take. So he had this point that our representatives are representative, meaning they represent the people who vote, which is old people. And so they represent their constituents, their voters' interests, and that made sense. But that didn't seem cabalish to me. That was actually just individuals going out to vote, and the data shows that, well, these are the people who are going to vote for me, so I'm going to make sure I take care of their interests, protect their assets, protect their wealth making, and provide, you know, political capture for these individual cohorts who actually vote for me.
Yeah, I got a hot take on cabal and everything, is that it's all about just interests, like self-interest, and like people with money trying to support self-interest. It has nothing to do with like a cabal. It's just like lobbying and voting. And
but no on UBI, no on minimum wage hike.
No.
I like some of the educational.
I used to believe in that minimum wage piece, and we should have a conversation on that again. That's a famous one.
Only if we get nice and liquored up. And
we've talked about it, right? It was the day that Stephen and Eric met.
Oh, so
they
good.
had the minimum wage debate.
It wasn't debate. It was a high volume.
It was a high volume, almost blows thrown, elbows.
But there was hugs
no,
after.
But I think like digging into some of Thomas Sowell's work around that helps me change my mind. I was like very much Team Eric on that one. I was just watching and enjoying, but like growing up, I've always believed that you boost the economy up that way, more money flows.
that's not my argument.
You want to table it, or you want to get into it?
That's not my argument.
Okay.
The argument is that
I didn't say that was your argument. I said that was my belief.
okay. Well, we can
What's
table
yours?
it. We can table it, but
No, I wanna hear it.
We can go like on his takes here. Like, we can like stay focused a little bit. Like, I think that UBI is coming regardless if we want it or not. So I think we should get used to it. I think the Social Security is the lowest hanging fruit. That is like pretty easily solvable with concessions from the fucking richest generation in the history of mankind.
Right.
Which it doesn't seem like they want to make any concessions, but this is like what it takes. Like, if you don't do things like raise minimum wage, then you get what you fucking asked for, which is revolt. Like, if you don't pander to the people that are struggling, then you get something worse. And that is sort of my point. It's
Well,
like,
this is why I want to do this topic in an episode.
yeah,
when Steven's
because
back.
like what I'm
I
talking
want
about is
some
like
raised voices on this.
like
one.
what you're gonna get is like you're gonna get something. It's going to come in form of the raised taxes or whatever, and it's like what can you do that is sort of middle ground?
And
and
what
like,
concession do you give?
and like, how do you find a way to like direct help towards people who actually need it or whatever?
Totally agreed.
I liked some of his reforms on universities. Like he pointed out that what do he call it? These universities have the LVMH strategy. By constricting supply, they make it more valuable. That's their strategy, not necessarily delivering a better product. So like the big Ivy League institutions, pride on like their low acceptance rate. But he says that certain institutions, if their enrollment doesn't increase with population growth, at least match population growth, they should lose their tax status. And I thought that was interesting. He said open it up to some of the vocational degrees, make it more valuable. And he was like, higher education is not, education for an upper class. It is really meant to be an amazing product where anyone can go into higher education and turn someone who doesn't have an opportunity to someone who's, remarkable. And
Yeah, that one, that's interesting.
he's basically saying make the product more valuable, let more people in, and that should be the promise.
Steven's
But, like-
upset because the lights are off.
Yeah, those lights suck, man.
They died.
I
They were on, Steven. I promise.
Dude, these lights suck, man.
I also am warning him that I'm hacking him, so I feel like it's okay now.
The lights were on.
Is Steven in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I
Yeah.
can't wait to have this conversation again now that he's here.
Yeah, he's tilted. He's tilted right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one.
Okay. So I wonder though, like, does it, like you're saying it makes the education more valuable by letting more people in. Does that make it more valuable?
It's anti-LVMH strategy, right?
But it makes it more valuable to the society because more people are learning.
Yeah, he has this quote. He's like, "We're public servants, not fucking Chanel bags."
Yes.
And it was a great
Yeah.
it was a great quote.
Yeah, he overdid some of those for me. I liked his mental health stuff. I liked this piece for sure.
Ban phones in schools, invest in third places, Big Brothers Big Sisters programs, national service requirement. Love those.
Yeah.
Those are
And
nice.
yeah, I mean, here's everything in
Oh,
one screen, actually.
He says, here's what's doable, I guess.
Yeah, he's just saying that this problem is very solvable. Again, breaks it into economics, technology, social policies, and mental health. Couldn't agree more with the banning until 16 of
Hold on, leave
social
this
media.
doable up for a little bit. I want to kind of read
All
through.
Yeah.
You got any highlights here you like?
I'm kind of reading through. I mean,
The
like,
technology ones are interesting. Break up big tech,
Meh.
age gating. Again, I don't agree with the solutions necessarily.
these are ideas. So
But,
ideas
yeah.
can be judged on merit.
Yeah.
But some of these are going to be better than others.
I wish I would have saw the reverse Social Security thing we talked about early on in the pod when we first started doing the pod.
Yeah, he never talked about that. That was
No.
like an interesting.
I like
idea.
that, and I think other people have the similar ideas where it's like instead of waiting until the end of their life to provide assistance, like why not give every child an account, dump some money in there, have them be part of the system of like the thing that makes America great.
They own assets from day one.
From
Like,
day one. They can't touch them till X age, but it grows invested, and they see the power over their 18 years of life of those assets growing, and then that's a little seed starter for them, by the time they may hit retirement, or maybe they need to use it sooner, but they see compounding, they see owning assets. I think that would be a better use of money. Maybe we could take the savings from chopping off Social Security benefits for the top 10%.
It'd be nice.
Indeed. Good stuff.
What's Steven saying in the chat?
He's calling it all communism, which I said socialism, so I agree as well.
Yeah,
I don't like the solutions.
You're also tilting him, so
yeah.
we're setting up the could be next week's pod.
It's getting like the typing is getting higher pitched.
High T typing. What's the next topic? Should I take a break here?
We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to ask a deep question and go Von Deep.
Okay, cool. So let's give a shout out to our second sponsor, Magic Spoon. Thank you guys for supporting the pod. We appreciate it. So check out magicspoon.com/alfalfa. Got the snack right here. Eat it straight out of the box, but you can, eat it like normal people and pour some milk in it if you like. Yeah, I don't know. It tastes good. It's got high protein, less sugar. I'm holding the frosted one here. They also have cocoa, fruity, and peanut butter. This pack has 0 grams of sugar, 13 grams of protein, only 14 grams of carbohydrates, 140 calories in this one. Yeah, all the friendlies you can think of: keto-friendly, gluten-friendly, or gluten-free, grain-free,
Ooh, I
and
like
soy-free.
that tagline.
All the
friendlies you can think of.
Yeah. So anyway, go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa. Use the promo code alfalfa to support the pod and get $5 off. They'll give you your money back if you or the kids don't like it. And thanks, Magic Spoon, for supporting the podcast. All right, Von Dieper.
Von Dieper.
We have 1 or 2 things.
We have 2 Von Diepers. So we have a 2-part Von Dieper and then a second Von Dieper. This is basically a prompt that you had as well. The whole premise here, the conversation is about, like, what would you do if money were no object? What would you do once you have, quote unquote, made it? Another way to ask this question that was asked on Twitter: what would you do day to day if you had $100 million in the bank? What would make you most excited to wake up in the morning to another day still? And the question actually is designed to help you define dreams and goals that you're being held back from. Because oftentimes I think we end up finding that we don't necessarily need those things.
Was this question from the Discord?
This was actually, I think I grabbed it from a YouTube post from maybe an old, I think it was like a Tim Ferriss style prompt. It might be like a Tony Robbins or Tim Ferriss post. But I think I saw it on a YouTube post. So, yeah. And then you had this kind of related thing, like what actually changes when you make it? It turns out the things I loved with $3,000 in the bank are the same things I love today. So it's really just like I don't know. It's just an exploration of this deeper question of what would you do if money were no object?
Steven asked me a few podcasts ago. He's like, like, you're doing all right. Like, would you do it any differently? And I kind of just said no, just in the thing. And I don't know, maybe that was a little cope. I don't know. And then like I went home and I was thinking about it. I was like, would I do it differently? And I think my answer is different. I would definitely do.
You definitely do it differently.
I would be very surprised to see you do it the same. I would be very surprised I was surprised at your answer.
Yeah, and I actually started asking I was like, wait, shit. And I started asking all the other questions. Am I doing things a little off? Prioritizing a little more higher? But anyway, I have this like little Asana board where I throw mini retirement ideas in, travel ideas in, and I definitely wouldn't go into the office every day like I do. I enjoy it now, but I would still get excited to get up and just play golf the first half of the day, and I'd maybe put in a little work, couple hours, super focused, high impact. But I think the thing that would get most excited is some adventure travel planning, like weird places, odd places, hiking mountains, going across continents, some adventure type travel.
If you did that for like a long period of time, do you think it would still get you excited to get up in the morning?
Yeah, but you don't need to do that much every year. Like even having 2 a year is great, because like when we did Kilimanjaro, we started planning it in like March and we did it in October, and it gave us like 6 months of just like fun of planning and looking forward to something and like training for it. And it was so much fun.
Right.
And then it gave us the memories afterwards. Sure. But you don't need to do a lot of it in a year. You don't need to do it like every month, but just having it there is fun. And, I think there would be a lot more of that. Heavy travel.
More of that. Okay.
Learning, like I saw some things in my mini retirement backlog, like read the classics was one in there. There would just be more time for leisure, and I don't know if that's like a trap where you just you do too many leisure activities and you feel a little worthless, but those are things that come to mind. And that answer definitely changed once I started thinking about it more.
So no profound shift necessarily, and you don't think you would struggle to like get excited?
No, I think that like if you really try to think of how not to be bored, there's plenty of stuff, challenges you could create for yourself. You know, you could turn leisure into a little bit of a challenge, like whether that's a physical one, like working out, you know, reach a certain level of proficiency. You know, golf can be a little bit of a challenge, like get to this handicap, whatever it may be. If you like sports, instead of just sitting looking at this score on your phone, go travel to go see those games.
Buy a team.
Buy a small team. I guess it's hip to buy like a sub league European soccer team.
So like
these days.
Harold Labab bought a Division II Spanish team, and just
I'm actually
got promotion.
freaking out a little bit because I feel like all the teams I want are just going to be bought by the time I'm ready. I don't like this. They're on to the meta.
But that's your dream. That's like part of your goal.
Fuck yeah! Amazing. That would be just incredible.
We can go foursies on
Incredible.
a pickleball team maybe one day.
Yeah, I can't get as excited about that, but yeah.
They might still be around.
Yeah, we might have to go like Division 5.
So I was thinking about this pretty deeply, and like one thing I thought of was that your interests and stuff are going to adjust over time, just like they have. If you look back 10 years, what you're interested in is no longer what you're interested in today. So I think like that's okay. But I was like, well, what would I do now? Like right now, what would I do differently? What I would do right away is like travel a lot and like do work way little. So like in my world, what that means is like I would probably still do some investing, but not for clients, you know, like just like take that off my plate.
Yep.
Almost entirely. And then, you know, I was talking to one of Mina's friends came and visited from North Carolina. They were like an elderly couple. She was actually one of Mina's teachers back in high school. And I think the dad worked in tech early. He was like IBM guy, engineer or something. So they're like retired and doing well. And I asked him, I was like, so what does retired life look like for you and your cohort right now? And he told me, he's like, well, there's like kind of two different tiers. He's like, there's the tier that like hasn't saved enough. There's like they haven't like prepared for their retirement. So they're like still worried. And then there's the other tier. And, you know, we kind of just like party a lot. And I was like, that would be a problem for me. Like, like if I'm like, imagine you're like in Italy, just because that's where we're going. Like it's 3 p.m. Like probably gonna drink some wine, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, and that becomes then a problem. Like I'm drinking wine every day. Like now what? Like, so I think what I'm sort of worried about is like, if I have too much leisure time to like go do anything I want, like I still need to be tethered to something like on a daily basis that keeps me sort of driven.
Oh yeah, that is a recipe for depression.
You need like responsibility, you're saying?
I think so. Like at least something that like keeps like my focus on towards something constructive, growth oriented, rather than just enjoyment oriented.
I mean, you're in a tennis league. You don't have a problem like creating a little structure and competition out of that, and you know your ranking and track it and know where you kind of sit within that ranking. Like I'd imagine that would come up more in other things.
Well, another thing I thought of too is like
I think that falls in the like health and physical wellness bucket of challenges, but I think maybe what you're describing is more the mental aspect of like still continuing to grow in your work or your career.
Yeah, like
or would you just be like, I don't need a career. I don't need to grow in my craft anymore.
Yeah, maybe just like to the degree that it's like I want to continue to grow, but it has no like obviously I stopped caring about what anybody else thinks of me or anything. So it's like I don't care to like get my name out there or anything. Who cares what anybody else thinks? I'm fucking good. But I think another thing that I thought of is like imagine you do go travel and this is like your life now. You're like going and adventuring all the time. Like you still got loved ones, which is like a huge part of your life that like aren't coming with you all the time. Right. And then one solution is, well, bring them with you. But like that is pretty limiting too, because they're not at the level you are. Right. So they still have a life they have to live.
Do you think you would apply that kind of die with zero framework where it's like, okay, at this stage in my life, these are the things, I may only be able to do these things in my late 30s, in my 40s. In my 50s, it's my last chance to like, I don't know, become a jet ski champion, you know, because, you know, when I'm 60s, it's probably not going to be that enjoyable. Do you think you would apply that? Like, because I think at every stage in life, there's things you could prioritize a little more. maybe push back the drinking and, you know, retiring in Italy and drinking every day a little later, because there might be stuff that when you're younger is a little easier to do, more enjoyable to do. Hiking mountains.
I mean, is there something to this idea, like when you're younger, to have fun was so easy. Like when you were young, like when we were in college, like all it would take was like
one more person saying
one more person, or like
Down.
like one activity or a beer or two, and like we're all of a sudden having like a blast.
Yeah. Full send. Gone.
I have a different type of concern, not of like what would I do at the time. I have a concern of getting to the point where you feel okay not working. You know, on the path to 100 million, you get to 20 and you're like, well, still probably need a little more. It's probably not just enough. You get to 50 and you're like, still have that concept. What happens if you get to like the number in the question, which is 100 million, and you're still tweaking about like, shit, it's not enough? Because like you have this hedonic adaptation, you just have this like pattern and like history of wanting to be, you know, important and needed in certain scenarios, and you never get. That's my bigger fear of not like what to do once you realize it, but like, will you ever admit that like, yeah, I should probably
have
not?
No concerns about that. None.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, we all have different battles we would fight. That's the point of the question, right? It's like, if you achieved that, what battle would you be fighting? One person is saying, I would be fighting the battle of like, how do I continue to grow essentially, and to not succumb to like constant leisure.
Yeah, just atrophy.
You're saying, I don't even know if I'm concerned I wouldn't actually be able to stop. And I would continue to want to grow in the field of like increasing that number.
And maybe it's easier if you have like a specific liquidity event where it's like your company gets sold.
I think that's the way to frame,
actually no longer needed.
To imagine.
We have a good friend who had that happen, and he reached that level we're talking about. And I think it may be easier because he didn't have like 5 businesses and side projects. That was his thing. And hey, you're no longer needed here. Here's some money. And it was like, okay, well, what else could I do? And he decided to like buy a hobby business, you know, and he operates it. It's not a high stress thing. It happens to align with like what his like passions are.
Right.
And in music. And so, you know, that's a good example, but it might be easier if there's like this event demarcation.
Well, let me ask you a question. Like, so Scott Galloway, he was making the rounds like beyond this TED Talk. He was making the rounds on his podcast because he's come out with a new book called like something about wealth. I don't know the name. It's something regarding wealth. It's not the name. But he was talking about the idea of wealth, and his definition of it aligns with yours. He said it's when your passive income exceeds your expenses. Okay.
Yeah. And
he said like his father is retired off of like a city pension plan and makes $48,000 a year, and he's wealthy because he only spends $30,000 a year. So I guess the question to you is, can you not stop your spending? Because like you will not need to work at any of those levels that you just described.
Yeah, I mean, still making that pitch of like moving to like a North Carolina to my significant other, and you know, like just downgrade by like 50%. And
thought we resolved that.
We did. We just haven't convinced the most important person in our lives.
I resolved it by just being like, forget it. That was like a nice
you resolved
fantasy.
it like, no, they're not going to accept it.
It's not going to happen unless, again, it would require full coordination. Wags would have to be aligned. We'd have to be aligned. Perfect place.
And here's the thing. Eric had a great argument.
Avocados.
He's like, I'm like, babe, there's this idea of like the efficient frontier, and like San Diego's on that for sure. But like if you go a little down the efficient frontier, like, you know, North Carolina's there. It's just a lower level spend. And yeah, I don't know if that
Start beautiful minding it.
Yeah. I'm now schizophrenic.
She's just sitting there. He's so dreamy.
And schizophrenic. Just gonna start putting pills in my eggs.
When you get to like $50 million, like you're still not okay. Like you're obviously okay. Like you're literally living a life now.
Well, I have another friend like this, and I'm like, hey man, like you have so much money. Like obviously, like why are you so intense at your business? Like you respond to emails in like 5 minutes. Like I text you, you call. You know, you're just still redoing the business. He's like, I was really poor at one time, and I wake up every morning like just scared that one day I could wake up poor again. And I just have this like urgency to still go. And maybe a blessing, maybe a curse. And I'm more worried about the curse side where like you're just always concerned that like, yeah, I have this now, but like, what if something happens? I don't know what that could be. Could be a health scare. Could be like a business issue. I don't know.
Sounds like
It sounds ridiculous to say, but I've seen it, and
my first response was like, that's psychopathy. But then I was actually thinking it's not psychopathy. It's just trauma.
No, so here's what I see when this question is being answered by everybody. All you're really doing with this question is actually like revealing the true nature of each individual. And no.
Yeah,
I
I
I'm
agree.
going to give you mine. Don't worry. Like I'm going to give you mine as well, and you'll see exactly who I am. I'm not saying this in a bad way. My point is actually there is no right answer here, and everyone's reaction to it is going to be completely different. And it's going to be based on like what really is underneath the surface.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it really fascinating. And I think it's so wrong to like compare how people deal with this question or what retirement should be for one person. It's completely different from person to person. So like, for example, even what this guy says in this tweet, I just think it's like a good little thing to show. He says, the things I loved with $3,000 in the bank are still the things I love today. Sunlight, a morning flat white, time with friends and family, running in calisthenics and nature, flow state from doing creative work. None of that required millions, but money is great for providing for your family, removing chronic stress about bills, giving you control over your time and location. I think most conversations about
Great
money
tweet, by the way.
and making it, tend to revolve around this. What I actually find more interesting is not this, it's what you guys were talking about. It's like what really shows up for you when you have $100 million in the bank? What anxieties show up for you? That's basically what you guys ended up addressing.
Yeah.
So for me, I think what's interesting is like, I would have no problem in terms of like adjusting and knowing what to do with the money and feeling content. Like I have such a clear vision of what I'm working toward and who I want to be and how I want to spend my time, that's actually not my concern. Like, I'll tell you even what I want to do. Like, what I want to do, yes, I would love to have like an involvement with soccer and either coach or buy a sport, like a soccer team. I want to teach. I want to lecture. I want to write books. I want to do this podcast. I want to take this podcast to a crazy level and be able to invest a lot of money into the production and the team and making it so we don't have to do the setup and all those things. Like I have this giant list of stuff I want to do. I still want to continue to work, but not in an operator role as like a CEO. I want to be in like advisory roles, helping entrepreneurs and, you know, just being there as like a consultant. So there's like, I want to continue to work the muscle that I've developed. But then I want to step into like the hobbies, and we're actually going to get to like the 4 hobbies thing.
Yeah.
Where I think things would get complicated for me. And it's really interesting. What it reveals is I already have these like very deep and existential thoughts that I don't have a lot of time for. So one of the things that I would actually do more of would be to read more, to learn more, to do more philosophy. And one of the things that comes with that as you begin to ask the deep questions is you're moving up the hierarchy of needs, as Maslow put it, and you begin to have explorations of the self. And you begin to wonder what this is all about. And you have time to actually sit and ponder infinity. And I think that those questions that come with pondering the infinite, the soul, why we're here, what we're doing, the fact that we're going to die, and how to continue to find and seek contentment and peace and happiness, even though you live in this like insane level of abundance that you've been blessed with, that you are literally a lottery winner. And why? And then a lot of people go through, I don't think I would go through this, but the why do I deserve this? You know? I think it's like
Then
a
you
lot
go
of people,
woke.
Yeah.
You get the
So
guilt.
you basically you hit that level of like you just begin to ask these questions of self-actualization. And I think what it would spark for me would be like a very spiritual journey, but in a fun way where I would seek to have teachers of different backgrounds, of different religious and spiritual backgrounds to have as advisors, the life staff. So like part of my life staff would be like also having these people. But I think where I would struggle is like when you begin to have that much time, I would need to continue to fill it up with work to a certain degree. But my game would be a little bit different from your game, where it's not so much a concern about like increasing the 100 or knowing what was enough. It's actually more of like knowing how to balance the part that I know needs to continue to work to stay sane with like, I don't actually need to. So
you said that you might go into like an existential crisis.
yeah, I think so can I share this super related unplanned tweet? So I was asking one of my mentors about advice for like business models and discovered this guy Patrick Campbell. So check this out. Last year I went from $19,000 in my bank account to selling my company for $200 million, and he came up with a framework called the champagne problem cycle. Okay. Existential crisis, cocaine energy, 19 gas stations, and a move to Puerto Rico. Here's exactly what happens when you
Steps are
get
amazing,
rich.
by the way.
So, first step, you're all calm until the money hits your bank account. Then the money hits the account, and you ask yourself, am I a god? Everyone treats you like one. All of your former team, I'm so sorry about the bad reviews on Glassdoor. Ex-girlfriends, you're the one that got away. VCs, I made these bootstrappers win. The stuff you wrote 10 years ago, everyone loves it. You're confused. This is so good. You guys are going to love this. You felt nothing when the money hit because you weren't hugged enough as a child. So you think, well, if I did it, it must not be so hard. So what's next? That's for you and your coach, Reed, therapist, to sort out. But then all this energy has the opposite effect. People boost you so much, imposter syndrome sets in. What if this was a fluke? Can I do this again? Am I a fake? Oh my God, can I get rich again? Why do I fear death now? Now you're in phase 2. This is the I'm going to mess it up, which Nick, you kind of alluded to, right? It's like, how do I keep this? It's all going to go away. You've never had enough. So you talk to 9 lawyers, you read everything. They all say different things. You become obsessed with taxes. You buy 19 gas stations and you move to Puerto Rico. But then comes cocaine energy. You've never done drugs. You still fear needing your old job if the world ends. This is so interesting. The first interest payment hits your savings account and you realize you just got years of your mortgage. Wait, you have so much money. It's a drug. You feel insanely high. You realize you can do anything. Hire 17 people, deposit on a plane, build a compound. So he goes on and he basically says, now we're in phase 3. Full-blown existential crisis. You're out of control. You talk to friends, except you're rich. How do you complain about any of that? You can't. So he's in his own little world. You seek out people like you, and you hit the champagne bottom. And here's how I climbed out. He launched a 50 case study on wealth and happiness. He hired 2 business shrinks, and the secret was simple enough. Introspection. It helps you climb out and lead to phase 4, which is back to the grind. You actually feel a bit above neutral because you've learned so much about yourself, and your friends remind you, hey, the money's for the next challenge. So you start to normalize, look for your next purpose, and you love them for that. And here's the chart from LOI signed all the way to back to the grind.
This is a great visual.
This is exactly what you guys were asking David as well.
Yeah.
And this was basically like he was kind of going through this champagne cycle.
I like this. Can we skip phases 1, 2, and 3 and just go straight to 4?
Right.
Is that like a hack?
Oh, I know.
Let's get some comments from the chat in. First of all, they love how you're still logged into Steven's account. Let's see. Tom Nanom says charity in the arts and science. Dan Simmons, I go down the rabbit hole of architecting a futuristic house and deck it out like Tony Stark and or try to be the best at something. Steven says I would spend more money on these backlights.
That would be helpful.
All right, can we get into these 4 hobbies? I think Eric, you put this in. Did you?
I think Armand put it in.
Oh, Armand, you
but
put it in.
I definitely
Because like this
aligned with
this is like a good maybe like a recipe for.
Yeah, do you want to read this, Eric?
Yeah, is it up there? Every man needs exactly 4 hobbies: a physical one, a cerebral one, a creative one, and a financial one. Commit to one of each, and you will never feel lost again.
I just
Okay,
want to say I love these topics today. These are so good.
this is
Same.
good. I asked ChatGPT. I was like, what would be what would you put in place of those 4 hobbies for the audience of the Alfalfa podcast?
Oh, wow.
Physical hobby, yoga with smartwatches, because if you didn't track it, did you even stretch? Cerebral hobby, mastering the art of productivity hacks. Spend 3 hours hacking a 5-minute task.
That's actually fucking good.
Creative hobby, podcasting about podcasts. It's meta, it's trendy, and yes, it's slightly narcissistic. Financial hobby, investing in startups that you only understand half of their mission statement. It's disruptive is all you need to know. So that's what ChatGPT thinks about our
I
Alfalfa
feel
audience.
seen. I feel seen.
A little bit, yeah. It also said maybe a physical hobby could be chasing the undulations in the Bitcoin chart. I like this, and they got a lot of similar responses on Twitter. Like, agreed. Like this is perfect. The physical one, the cerebral one, the creative one, the financial one, and like my hobbies kind of fit naturally into those buckets. But like, I'm trying to figure out why are those four?
Did your hobbies fit into those buckets? Because mine,
Isn't it funny?
mine didn't necessarily, and maybe it's like a labeling problem.
Which one are we missing?
Well, it's not really that. It's that I like certain things that might have quite a bit of overlap across like 3 different ones. For instance, like cooking. Cooking is like a hobby of mine, and what I love about cooking is that like I can learn something new. I like that it's like in the real world. Like I'm spending
Tactile.
Yeah, it's like real lifetime. I'm not like digital. You can do it with your wife or your friends, and that becomes like a sociable thing. And then like there's even more layers to
There's
it.
a creativity aspect.
Like I'm always learning. Yeah, like so here's the way that I do it that also kind of makes it financial is that on my Vaughn's app, it's like the local grocery store. Every week they have like one meat on sale. Like this week it's lamb chops for $7, and like I will go buy that because it's my weekly sale, so it's a financial thing. And like with that lamb chop, I will think like, what can I do with this? Like so I might want to make like a tagine, which is like a North African stew. I've never made that before. This to me is like a fun way to like learn something new and I don't know.
You found your flow state, the combination of all 4 of those.
Right. I guess like what I'm trying to say is that, like you don't just need to like play tennis because that's physical. Like I do things that are like many of these categories. But I don't know.
Mine like Muay Thai, working out, obviously physical. Cerebral, I don't know, that's the business, like I think. Or maybe it's, instead of cerebral, I feel like I should replace it with like something to learn. Like there's always should be something you're trying to like up yourself in. Creative hobby, painting, even though the art studio's gotten a little dust these days. I mean, we're pulling out like storage alcohol from the last art gallery opening. And then financial hobby, like investing or just, learning more, not necessarily like investing itself, but just becoming a student of it over a lifetime, like whether it's real estate or stocks or anything else. So mine fit kind of nicely. Armand, where did yours fit? Did they fall
first
in these
of all,
buckets?
I fulfilled my obligation.
You posted.
I fulfilled my obligation. Hook'em donated. I had to do it, but I did it in a gentle way. So I just tweeted it, announcing that I will only be covering macro and fundamentals going forward. Also, Armand was right. Doge will outperform Pepe. And yes, I was hacked. It's gentle.
Yeah, sorry, bud. Well, I'm glad you.
He's about to delete it.
You did like a little soft landing on it.
Yeah,
like
soft landing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's not so much that like they had already fit. I just think it's a good, like once I've seen this framework. I actually think we talked about this framework a little while ago. We might have seen this exact principle, this framework a while ago. So I've always really liked it, and I think it makes sense. It's really just if you look at it, like first of all, you want to be fulfilled like mind, body, and soul, right? And I think that these 4 buckets tend to cover like a lot of that, and it just brings the addition of like you want to so body, the physical one, mind, the cerebral one, soul, the creative one, and it brings the additional one of financial. And I think the financial one's interesting because it's just like, yeah, you have a fuller life that way if you turn financial well-being and wealth into a game. And if you turn it into a hobby that you become very interested in and you want to learn about, you develop expertise in, you find an edge. With that edge, you now have the ability to become a better investor. And if you doing that the hobby aspect of it also makes it a little bit more light and a little bit more fun and not so serious, where it's like, I'm just really good at futures trading, or I'm just really good at trading shit coins, or I'm just really good at, my 37-point checklist for whether or not I should do a
real estate deal,
multifamily real estate deal.
Yeah.
That's a hobby for you, and it's awesome. And I think that's you're honing your craft. I think it totally makes sense. and I'm a big fan.
So Naval had another framework. He's like 3 hobbies.
Angel investing, by the way, that's another financial one
Right.
that you could develop. You
Totally.
know, yeah.
A hobby, one that makes you fit, one that makes you smart, and one that makes you money.
That's where I saw this. It was the Naval. It's the similar. Yeah, exactly.
I think it kind of falls.
Yeah.
Um,
So what is it? Fit, smart, and
Money.
Money.
Yeah, and I what I like about this a lot, maybe the most, is that it fights against my natural inclination to sort of just like atrophy into leisure. Like you can, like this sort of focuses my attention towards like certain outcomes that I like.
I feel like for you, tennis would be one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about creative though? You dabbled paint. You were painting outdoors. Maybe cooking. I would put cooking in the more the creative.
It's more creative. I think like this content type stuff I would like to continue, even if there was a 100 million in the bank.
Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Options corner.
Well, that would be feel a little too much like work probably, but like Alfalfa
Yeah,
is nice.
Alfalfa's definitely a creative one.
for sure.
This is definitely an outlet.
I'm trying to think of like what would be the opposite of something I want, like maybe diving deep into conspiracy theories. Would that be a cerebral hobby?
That's an interesting.
Would coupon clipping be a financial hobby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That was a good movie. Did you guys see that on Netflix?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah, I watched
I
it.
love her.
I watched
I
it.
love her.
I don't know. It's some new. What's Dax Shepard's
Damn.
wife? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't,
Kristen Bell.
yeah, I don't know any actors. And
Love her.
who's the guy in
Love.
Wedding Crashers? I don't know anyone's name.
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. Anyway, it was like a great.
It was called Queen Pins. It was just like a
loosely
lighthearted,
based on a true story.
lighthearted, dumb kind of fun comedy.
Yeah,
Like
easy.
how
easy
I
watch.
miss how I like what comedies used to be. It was just easy. Yeah, it was like nice and light.
No, I like that. I think how Nick described his personal trauma on like never like this unrelenting force
Never
to,
enough.
like to like just continue.
It's not that I have it. It's because like I'm like, oh yeah, this mount, secure the bag, be done is like the plan. But like I just worry this creeping
Well,
fear
what I'm
pop
trying
up.
To,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that I think there's something in you that's driving that, and I think it's something that happened in your upbringing that you probably would agree with. That is like driving this unrelenting force, and I have a different version of that, and mine
Right.
is like this unrelenting force that tells me don't waste money, and it comes from two immigrant parents basically that like made it, and they're like they still fucking clip coupons because they can't get out of this trauma or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And like that was passed to me, and like
Should we rewrite some stories? Maybe.
This is the shit I'll be busy doing. It's
I don't mind it. Like I kind of like mine. I like
I like
all
yours
this
too.
Unconscious, all this unconscious baggage, man. Yeah, and you'll have time to do all the therapy you want. Okay, I think mine would be like physical one. I'm really into like calisthenics now, but also just I think I might have to retire from soccer after my ribs breaking recently. That was a really rough one.
When did you
So
break your
pickleball?
ribs?
2 months, three
What?
months ago.
Oh, it
Yeah.
sucks. I've had one of
Oh,
those
it's-
before, and there's no way to fix it. You just
Terrible, bro.
Yeah.
It took 6 weeks to heal.
yeah.
It was terrible. So might actually be going pickleball-y.
Okay. You
can't
liked
believe-
our Saturday outing?
I had a great time, and there are very few non-contact sports left.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, like breaking, my ribs was like, that was extremely painful, and it happened in a fucking setting where it's not supposed to happen. Like, I literally specifically joined a league where it was supposed to be less serious, and that's what happened. So I'm like, what level of soccer is left if I can't?
right.
What's left?
Because like you go down a level and people are reckless and
Yeah.
and awful, but you go up a level
You
and
go
then
up a
people
level.
are more intense and
Way more intense, way more requiring of your own commitment.
so like with the like Nick said, like I should play some tennis is my hobby. I certainly would, but I would like do more hobbies. Like I would
Yeah.
like I
Have
would
a
like
bunch.
I would do like pickleball. I would like try a bunch of new things like kite surfing or whatever the fuck, like just because that is available to you now.
Yeah, totally. The cerebral one is how I feel about that. It's like there's so many. I just become interested in like random shit. But I mean, I would probably put my work there right now. Is like where I exercise that creative one.
But
right?
would you still do the work that you do at that level?
I would do it as a non-operator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're combining the two questions right now.
Right.
Like we should have these anyway now. Is
Right.
kind of the purpose of this.
Yeah.
But I like what you guys are pushing for. You're like, what would it be at that point? Because then you're also sort of like ensuring you're fulfilled and feel good at that point. We're kind of combining two nice frameworks.
What I like in that tweet from Stack Hodler or whatever is that you say what you're going to do at 100 million plus, and you realize that you can do that already.
Yeah, Mexican fisherman.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. The question is more, it's a backdoor question. It reveals more about maybe what the stories are or who you really are. It like, I've heard the phrase like wealth just emphasizes more of your characteristics that you
Definitely.
have now. I've seen people with like 100 million take as much risk as that they have $10,000 in the bank account to like get to $1 billion. And it's anxiety ridden to watch.
We know some of those people. It's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, no, thank you.
No thanks.
No. But yeah, I really liked this.
Yeah, good questions. More questions from the Discord would be fun because like they're inspiring good
great.
questions for the Von Deeper segment.
Speaking about like before we move on or
Yeah.
whatever, like, can I just mention that Berkshire Hathaway just did their annual meeting?
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought Warren Buffett was like a closet indexer. I thought that like he's obviously made it to a level that he's good no matter what. Did you guys realize that his portfolio was so degen?
No.
He was 60% invested into one stock,
Apple.
Apple stock. What?
I had no idea.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you were very surprised, right?
What? Like, I totally, like, I stopped following him because I was like, oh, this guy doesn't care anymore. But to do that, isn't that kind of insane?
At a massive scale. I wonder what the holding value was.
Well, I think I looked it up at his latest 13F. It was like 175 billion into Apple. Isn't this what you're describing with your like risky ass friend? Like,
Yeah.
kind of like
He's got 65% of his.
like, isn't that kind of crazy?
Well, he's also got 200 billion in cash, so maybe that.
So it's like a barbell in a weird way. But
Yeah.
like, I just thought, I was like, it's just wild that he's like still playing like this.
He mentioned that he's got a successor to be the capital allocator.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, he should. He's
Yeah, I would hope so.
pretty old.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any like big takeaways from the Berkshire Hathaway show. And I think the point you made, people don't realize that he still follows his own advice. Like he doesn't necessarily believe in portfolio diversification.
I mean, it's weird because at one point when he was like, and somebody asked him actually, you know, it was like a 6-hour meeting, and somebody asked him, they said, what if you only had $1 million? Like, do you think you can still get the returns? Because he was quoted at one point saying he could get 50% annual returns if he only had $1 million.
Because his problem is he has too much cash.
He has too much cash. He can't invest in small things because he would buy the business outright anytime he wants to invest.
Couldn't even
like, a
invest in
small company.
Coinbase.
Right. He would just like own that whole business. He said yes. He's like, I still believe that. So the opportunity, like the market is not as efficient as we believe it to be.
Okay,
And-
so real question. Like he's got $200 billion of cash on the balance sheet. Like do a special dividend, give it back to your other co-owners if you don't have anything to do with, you know, and let's play a little game. Give yourself $1 billion. I don't know, and let's see what you got. But like I do feel that because he has so much cash, he doesn't really have anything to buy. He hasn't seen anything to buy in, I don't know, a decade outside of Apple. You should return the cash to shareholders. It's ridiculous.
I think it's like if we go into this modern monetary theory mode where just like assets are up only, I don't think Warren Buffett's gonna like buy another asset ever again. But like he's lived through so many of these like steep downturns, and that's where he makes all his money. Because like when you go in a steep downturn, he's got cash and he fucking deploys hard.
We think it makes sense to buy a share or some just because of like, I don't know, if there's a change of the guard, the dividend might be a potential thing?
No,
You think they'll always keep that cash there?
probably.
Okay.
Probably, but not even like I don't even care about a dividend. Like, you think that dividend is going to be worth your while? Like,
Well, it sounds like it's 30-40% of the arsenal there.
of his like entire
Portfolio.
net asset value.
Yeah.
But
Could be chunky.
I don't think they do like a special one-time dividend of. Either way, like when I looked at Warren Buffett, like 10 years ago, he was like moving away from this like concentration. He was like going into a diversified portfolio. He was like making wagers against hedge fund managers, saying that, like, you can't beat the S&P 500. I'll buy the S&P. You do your thing and see who wins. And he beat like all 10 of them. And so he was moving away from it. So I thought owning Berkshire was like an even cheaper way to own an index when like if Vanguard's 5 basis points, here's 0 basis points. I don't know.
All right, guys. Let's see. Got a little comments from the chat. It's basically about creating a purpose outside of work. It's all decompressing the mind, but wealth gives you the opportunity to think about what you really want. Most don't have time to think about what they want because of the constant grind of life. Yeah, agreed. Tyler says, atrophy to leisure. It's a great way to phrase one of the biggest problems I have. Hookham says, Armand, don't forget to follow Elizabeth Warren from Steven's account.
I hope Steven liked what I did with my jeans.
Yeah, he's
Today.
already commented.
I know
in the
he
chat.
noticed my jeans.
Okay, there's no Irresponsibly Long
There
tomorrow?
were holes in them, Steven.
No.
Not
Okay.
anymore.
So next Wednesday, we'll be back live, and then next Thursday, Irresponsibly Long for all your money and degen needs.
IL.
Steven will be refreshed, reloaded, hopefully.
Reloaded
Nice.
in cash, peaceful,
Yeah.
calm,
Moisturized.
moisturized in his lane. Maybe he'll bring back another exotic European drink for us to enjoy.
Oh my God! When you said bring back another exotic European, I only thought. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It was like
Yeah.
saw an image.
I'm going to prescribe you penance. Yeah, but anyway, like the video if you haven't. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat, in the live stream every Wednesday on YouTube at 5 p.m. PST. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Good times.
See ya.
Peace.